We're testing out van life around Washington State for the next week, and we're taking you guys with us. Finally doing it.
For this whole trip, we only had 7 days, which it gives you enough time to do a little sample of each. Or you could plan a trip where you're really just focusing in on like the North Cascades region and that's it. Or you can just do Mount Rainier version and that's it. Our personal preference was to hit a little bit of everything so we know when we go back, we know which areas we enjoyed the most and things like that. So this itinerary is by all means not inclusive of everything you can possibly do. There's a lot of things that we originally wanted to do that we had on our itinerary that we just ran out of time for, and that's okay. We can go back. There's only so much you can do. So we prioritize certain spots over others. And we also left out Olympic National Park this time because we had already been there. If you guys want to check out that video, I will link it up here for you. But since we had been there, we want to see all new things. And yeah, the first area that we started hiking on our Washington road trip was the Mount Baker Wilderness area. This place is so underrated. It's not one of the national parks in Washington, but honestly, it could rival with some of them. The nature out there is absolutely stunning. We started with the Chain Lake Sloop. It's a 7.1 mile hike. It's about 1,800 to 1,900 feet of elevation gain. So it is a moderate to harder hike, especially if you're not used to a lot of steep elevation gain. And it's a loop trail, or you can do it out and back, and it's dog friendly. So it's a really nice trail. There's beautiful views of Mount Baker from the top of the trail and absolutely stunning views of the lakes in the area. You can either do it as a day trip or a backpacking trip, whatever you prefer. We wish we could have made it an overnight trip, but since we were staying in the van, it didn't really make sense for us to go out camping when we had the van to go back to. But we totally recommend doing this trail if you have the time. It does take a couple of hours because it is a longer trail, which you'll see is a trend here in Washington with all the hikes. Most of the epic views tend to take 7 to 10 miles to reach round trip and take a couple of hours. We'd recommend doing this trail counterclockwise. That helps avoid a ton of steep stairs at the end of your hike. And we do want to make sure you guys know with most of these hikes in Washington, including the Chain Lake Sloop, the best time to be doing them is going to be from July to September. Sometimes in June, it's still a little snowy depending on the year. So we'd say like when you're planning this kind of road trip, make sure you're planning it from July to September, just to err on the side of safety.
Good morning from day 2 of our big Washington road trip. We started this morning out with a beautiful sunrise here at Picture Lake. It is so beautiful, you guys. It actually took about an hour for the whole area to get lit after sunrise, but it was super nice. We're here on a Monday morning, so it wasn't crowded at all. There may be like 3 or 4 other people. So definitely recommend if you can visit on a weekday morning, you'll basically have the place to yourself. But it's really beautiful. It's a glacier lake. You can actually see the glaciers up on the mountain behind us. And yeah, it's absolutely stunning. Highly recommend it when you are visiting the North Cascades region.
After we finished our first day in Mount Baker, we had about a 2-hour drive all the way to North Cascades National Park, which is where we went for the next part of our journey. We headed up to one of the most famous hikes in all of the North Cascades National Park. This is called Maple Pass Loop. It was so beautiful because it had tons of flowers, especially during July. The Maple Pass Trail is another very steep trail, so we recommend going up the more gradual incline. There's 2 different ways to do it. One, you go up directly from the lake and you do a ton of different switchbacks all the way up. The other way is a little bit more of a roundabout way, but we much rather go down the switchbacks than directly up them. The other side also had quite a few more wildflowers, so if you guys are hiking up for sunset like we did, we would rather hike up the way with all the wildflowers so we can enjoy the views rather than hike down that way and not be able to take in as many of the flowers.
We've made it to the top of Maple Pass. It's a very long trail. It's about 7.4 to 8 miles, depending on how often you go back and forth. But we just made it at sunset. We got Lake Anne down below us right here. And we're gonna be heading down the alternative way. It is a full loop. We did decide to go counterclockwise. That's what people had recommended on all trails for a more gradual incline. Although it's like a pretty steady incline for like 5 miles. So if you're wanting to get your elevation just kind of like over with, we'd recommend going clockwise. If not, it's like a pretty gradual gradual time, it's just for an extended period. It's an absolutely beautiful hike. It's probably one of the top rated hikes in all of Washington from all of the research that I've done up here, but I can definitely see why. You have panoramic 360 views literally all the way around you. This is a whole national forest area, so there is a lot of cool camping, but there are restrictions in this area, so make sure to look at the Forest Service website before you decide to come up here and go camping.
Now, if you're looking for views of the lake on this trail,
There's Lake Anne.
we did go at sunset, so photographing the lakes were actually a little bit difficult because there were some harsh shadows over the lakes and things. So if you were going to go photograph the beauty of the lakes, along with a ton of the other Washington lakes in this area, we'd actually recommend doing it midday if it's not too hot. But if you do want that golden light and you don't really care about the lakes being lit up, then go for sunrise or sunset.
Once we finished off our night hiking up Maple Pass, we went to bed, made some food in the van, and then the next day we woke up for sunrise and headed up to another one of the hikes called Thunder Knob overlooking Diablo Lake. Another thing you guys have to do when you're in North Cascades National Park is check out Diablo Lake. We're gonna be paddling on this in just a few minutes, but we started off the morning up here on Thunder Knob. It's a 3.6 mile round trip, about 700 feet of elevation gain, but it is absolutely stunning. The color of the water looks like something out of glacier or like something that you would find in Canada. Definitely the bluest lake that we've seen the entire trip so far, starting up in Mount Baker and making our way down here to North Cascades. But like we said, we're gonna go make sure to spend some time out on the lake. We brought our inflatable paddleboard from Body Glove. It fits super well in the van. It should be a super fun day of exploring North Cascades.
So this is actually one of the shorter trails in the park at 3.5 miles round trip, which isn't really that short, but it's shorter than everything else. So if you're looking for a smaller day hike, would definitely recommend the Thunder Knob Trail. Takes you right above Diablo Lake, and would also recommend doing this one in the middle of the day rather than sunrise, because the turquoise water just comes out a lot more in the middle of the day with the sun beating down on it. So after we finished Thunder Knob, we decided it was time to head out on the water. So we blew up our inflatable paddleboard. We bring it with us on all these trips where there are beautiful lakes, and definitely recommend getting one for Washington. So we'll link the one that we use down below. We inflated that up and then we headed out on the water, did a little loop around Diablo Lake. There are some lakeside campsites that you can only reach by paddling out there, whether you're in a canoe, a kayak, a paddleboard, which is really cool if you're into some more primitive kind of camping in the national park. Otherwise, you can just take it out for the day. There's a few different boat ramp options where you can stick your paddleboard in. And then Steven decided to go for a dip. It was absolutely frigid, so I decided not to.
Woo! Woohoo! Chilly!
But if you're brave and want to hop in and cool off, then it's a beautiful lake to do that.
Good morning. It is officially day 4. Last night we finished up in North Cascades National Park, drove about 3 hours here, and now we are in the Enchantments. We are going to go hike Colchuck Lake. We're super excited to hike this. We've heard tons of amazing things. The water's supposed to be fantastic. It's a long trail though. It's about 9 miles, about 2,300 feet of elevation gain. But we did arrive at 6 a.m. and the parking lot is already completely full. Very, very busy. Probably one of the busiest trailheads we've ever been to. So if you guys do plan on hiking this, make sure you guys get here early. All right, let's get going. We finally made it up here to Colchuck Lake. It was a beautiful hike up. We got really lucky. There was in the shade the entire time. We started at 7, got here at 9, so it was about a 2-hour hike. The lake is incredible. Definitely a little bit chilly. If you guys want to bring up your paddleboard, we see one person out there paddleboarding, but it is kind of a mob to carry it all the way up. But we jumped in like 20 times, spent about 2 hours. It is now 11 o'clock. We're gonna be hiking back, and it is way hotter now. This morning it was probably in the high 50s, low 60s hiking in. It was perfect. I think we only stopped once or twice. The last mile leading up to it is definitely where you gain most of your elevation. Really fun trail. We're gonna be heading back. Should be all downhill from there, and then we're gonna be heading out to Leavenworth.
Right next to Lake Colchuck is the cutest little European town called Leavenworth, and it is so adorable. It reminds us a lot of the city of Solvang here in California. And it's just a quaint little area where you can go shopping. We did a lot of food tasting, like cheese tasting, pretzels, like literally so much food. Highly recommend. It's a cute little day trip. And if you guys are going to Washington in the winter time, apparently it's a beautiful destination that is very snowy and perfect for the Christmas vibes.
If you guys are enjoying our Washington road trip video so far, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. You can also go and check out more of our content on our blog or our Instagram and TikTok.
Good morning. It is day 5? Day 5, I think. of our road trip around Washington. We're here at Mount Rainier National Park, and it hasn't been a great start so far. Yesterday we drove over. There's a ton of road closures on Monday to Thursday, and we experienced very similar things up in North Cascades. So if you guys are visiting these national parks on a weekday, make sure to check the website because there are a lot of road closures and delays right now.
After our time at Colchuck Lake, we headed over to one of the most famous national parks in all of Washington, which is Mount Rainier. This spot had been on our bucket list for so long, and we decided to start off with a sunrise at Reflection Lake. Reflection Lake has an incredible view of Mount Rainier, and during this time of the year, there are wildflowers everywhere. So we got to hang out, enjoy the wildflowers. It was pretty cloudy. It was kind of raining on us, but we still tried to enjoy the morning at Reflection Lake.
Then after Reflection Lake, we headed on over to the Nisqually Vista Trail. This is a great beginner trail at only 1.1 miles and very minimal elevation gain, and it looks directly at Mount Rainier. You're so up close with it, and it's gorgeous for wildflowers, especially if you guys are going in August. That seems to be the best time, like July and August, for wildflowers. So definitely recommend. It's all paved trail, so it should be very easy. It's wheelchair accessible. So this is a great shorter option for a hike in front of Mount Rainier, unless you guys are wanting to do the Skyline Trail, which is what we did right after it.
So we're just finishing up here at the Skyline Trail at Mount Rainier, and it's absolutely beautiful. Definitely the best area to see wildflowers right now, and it's absolutely stunning. If you do just the trail out and back, it's about 4 miles, around 1,700 feet of elevation gain. You do have the option to loop it together. Similar elevation gain, but I think it makes it about 5.5 miles. What we opted to do is take the Skyline Trail up, then we came on this little side route to see wildflowers, which is the Dead Horse Creek Trail, and it's gonna connect back with Skyline as we go back down into the Paradise Visitor Center area.
Another great spot to watch sunrise in Mount Rainier National Park is at Little Tipsoo Lake. This spot is a little bit further out of the national park, so it's better when you're first getting there or as you're leaving the park. Unfortunately, we got crazy clouds that day. There was still a stunning reflection, but we didn't get the crazy beautiful lighting that we were hoping for.
Next up, we pulled out our paddleboard again and took it hiking on the Emmons Moraine Trail, which offers another beautiful view of a different side of Mount Rainier, and tons of turquoise water in this area. Super beautiful. Like I said, if you guys don't bring a paddleboard on this trip, you are doing yourself an injustice. Highly recommend bringing one with you. So when you hike out to all these beautiful lakes, it is another way to enjoy.
Next up, we headed out to Fremont Lookout. This trail had been on our bucket list for so long. It's a 5.7 mile trail with about 1,100 feet of elevation gain.
So we just finished paddleboarding and we're on our next hike, our final hike for the day, which is the Mount Fremont Lookout Trail. It's a fire tower up here in Mount Rainier National Park. It's about 5.5 miles round trip and lots of elevation gain, lots of 1,700 feet. It is completely up basically the whole time. There's one little flat section in the middle, but it's pretty steep in the beginning and pretty steep at the end. But yeah, basically there's 3 different trails that we'd recommend doing along this. So you'd start on the Sourdough Ridge Trail from the Sunrise Visitor Center, take that up, keep left, and then it will bring you to 3 different trail heads basically. So you can either do Mount Fremont, Sourdough Ridge all the way through, or the Burroughs Trail, and those are the top 3 in this area for some high elevation, harder hikes with some really grand views of Mount Rainier. But yeah, we're gonna show you the top from Mount Fremont, and hopefully we don't get clouded out, and see you at the top.
And most of the time we were just hiking in the clouds. At first we could see Mount Rainier, it was gorgeous. As we kept hiking, the clouds rolled in and they were staying there. We were like, ugh, we wanted to be here for sunset and catch this beautiful cloud inversion. There were clouds everywhere. We literally couldn't see more than 5 feet in front of us. We hung out for about an hour, and then all of a sudden the clouds cleared, they dropped a little bit lower, the sun popped out, and it was one of the most beautiful sunsets we've ever seen.
We just finished up, the clouds cleared, it was absolutely amazing. Bucket list destination, bucket list shot. Absolutely recommend Mount Fremont Lookout. It was really busy at the top, so just
very busy.
Had to wait a while to get our shot that we really wanted, but like, look at this view, crazy cloud inversion, got to see Mount Rainier popping out, and really epic hike.
The next morning we headed out to the Bertha May and Granite Lakes area. It's in the National Forest in Washington, so it's no longer in Rainier National Park proper. And we went for a hike out here. It was super well marked with signs, but we'd still definitely recommend downloading the All Trails data or the Gaia data ahead of time, just because the signal's not great out here. And we hiked all the way up to Bertha May Lake, and it was so beautiful. It was a different kind of blue, and the water was nice and warm actually compared to some of the other lakes. Definitely the warmest one. of all the ones that we went paddleboarding on. This trail is about 3 miles with 900 feet of elevation gain, so it is a little steep, but it is totally worth it. That being said, it is a popular area for bears, so make sure when you guys are doing this road trip, you guys have bear spray, you're bear aware the whole time. I can put some resources in the description box for you if you want to learn more about that kind of stuff.
The last spot that we went in Washington was called High Rock Lookout. It's 3.2 miles with 1,300 feet of elevation gain. So it is a pretty steep trail. It is another one that is outside the national park, and we hit sunrise and sunset there. This area changes so much from morning to night. The nice thing is that this is another place to catch cloud inversion. So one of the days we were out there were tons of clouds directly below Mount Rainier. It's like I said, it's out of the national park, so you can bring a drone if you want. There used to be a lookout out there. They took it down. I heard rumors that they're supposed to put another lookout out there, but it was one of the highlights of our trip for sure. And we even saw a proposal out there, so that tells you how gorgeous it is.
And we actually preferred it more for sunset than sunrise, even though it's more so known as a sunrise location. So either one works, whatever fits in your van life itinerary for Washington. Both are great options, but we had a very beautiful cloud inversion up there as well.
We did van life the entire time when we were out there in Washington for 7 days. No showers, there wasn't a toilet in it. We rented the van off of Outdoorsy, which was a great way to do it for us.
And I think we have a coupon code for them, by the way. I'll link it down below. I think you get like 10% off your rental if you use our code.
Then we stocked up on a ton of different ramen.
Just got back to the van. We're gonna be making some really quick and easy dinner because it's 9 p.m. and we got an early morning tomorrow, so we're gonna keep it simple. When we went to the grocery store, we planned out all of our meals already. Tonight is going to be some ramen packets. We're gonna spice it up by adding some corn, we got some seaweed, and then we're gonna add some eggs and some seasoning. Super simple, really fast. We'll be ready in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Here's our little setup. They give you all these different, like, anything you can need. You have your Tupperware, your utensils, you have pots and pans, literally anything you can need. So I'm gonna get cooking.
Dinner, we got some ramen. Chef G.
We had sandwiches for lunch. For breakfast, we either got pancakes or we made eggs really quick and lots of cereal. So nothing too crazy since we were eating out of the van the whole week. But it was such an incredible way to see Washington. There's not too much off-roading that we had to do to get to a lot of the locations, and if there was a dirt road, you didn't need 4x4. So I think a van is totally capable of hitting 90% of what there is to see out of the national parks and more of the well-known spots. So we would highly recommend doing that. Bringing a paddleboard, making sure that you have enough food. It did get pretty hot in the van sometimes. It was a little hard to find Wi-Fi at certain parts of the trip, but overall we would highly recommend doing Washington as a van life trip, just so you have a little bit more comfort rather than having to set up a tent and tear down the entire time.
And it's more budget friendly. Thank you so much for watching our Washington van life road trip with us. We hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know in the comments if there's anything that you guys think we need to check out on our next van life adventure next summer. And with that, we'll see you guys next week with another adventure.